History is littered with terrifying tales to keep you up at night, and many of these stories would work wonderfully on the silver screen. 5 of the most powerful words in cinema are, after all, based on a true story. Horror movie writers are always seemingly finding new ways to get a bunch of dumb teens into a haunted house, but why bother with tired cliches and boring stories when the real world has provided such a wealth of terrifying tales? I'm Tilly from What Culture Horror, and these are 10 terrifying true stories that would work perfectly as horror movies. Number 10. The Disappearance of Frederick Valentich. Frederick Valentich was a pilot who went missing while performing a training flight over Bass Strait, just off the southern coast of Australia. The incident occurred in 1978 and is particularly notable and creepy due to the final radio message Valentich sent to Melbourne's air traffic control. At 7:06 p.m. on the evening of October 21st, Valentich got in touch with air traffic control to let them know he'd spotted an unidentified aircraft that seemed to be following him. Confused, the traffic controllers told the pilot they had no information on any plane in that area, but Valentich insisted that he could see an aircraft moving at high speed all around him. Valentich then added that the aircraft was orbiting him, describing it as shiny, metallic, and featuring a distinctive green light. When air traffic controllers asked him for more details, Valentich's final recorded words sent shivers down their spines. "It isn't an aircraft." The case has never been solved, with some suggesting Valentich, a UFO enthusiast, faked his own death or ended his own life and wanted to go out in a mysterious way. Interestingly, there were reports of a UFO sighting on the very same day Valentich disappeared, and the idea of a horror movie set entirely in the sky showing a lone pilot being stalked by an unidentified presence is definitely an intriguing one. Number 9. 088 888 888. The idea of a cursed phone number might sound like something from the realm of fiction, but a Bulgarian number actually had to be suspended after all of its owners died. The number 0888888 was first given to Vladimir Grajnov, CEO of the mobile company that issued it. Grajnov died of cancer in 2001, with suspicions about possible radiation poisoning involved in his passing. The number was then given to Konstantin Dimitrov, a drug smuggler with major organised crime connections. He was shot dead in 2003, allegedly by assassins hired by rival mafia members. The number's third victim was Konstantin Dishliev, killed in broad daylight in Bulgaria's capital city. Dishliev also had connections to drug crime. 2 of the owners of the number were criminals, thereby putting themselves at a greater risk of being killed, and the whole thing could just be a creepy coincidence, but Mobitel decided to suspend the number after the 3rd death. Horror films like One Missed Call have investigated the idea of haunted or cursed forms of modern technology, but this true story could serve as a fantastic inspiration for a new scary film, perhaps following the story of someone who gets assigned the number and attempts to escape the curse. Number 8. ELISA Lam. The death of ELISA Lam was the subject of great speculation after her body was found in the water tank on the roof of the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. Lam was a 21-year-old Canadian student who was visiting California in January of 2013. She initially shared a room with other guests, but was given her own room after the guests complained about her odd behaviour. Lam normally checked in with her parents to let them know she was okay, but one day the calls stopped coming. A search was launched and her body was eventually found in the tank, which was particularly mysterious as all doors leading to the roof were locked and alarmed. Even more bizarre was the security footage taken in the hotel elevator, capturing some of Lam's final moments. The unsettling video shows the 21-year-old walking in and out of the elevator, seemingly talking to someone who isn't there, hiding in the corner as though she were being chased, and gesticulating bizarrely with her arms and fingers. A few filmmakers have expressed interest in bringing Lam's story to life on the silver screen, and a movie named The Bringing was in development for a while but got cancelled. Lam's story is an exceptionally creepy one and could provide a lot of possibilities for filmmakers. Number 7. Murder Castle. H.H. Holmes is one of the most famous serial killers of all time, confessing to 27 murders in total. Only 9 of those were proven, but some estimates suggest that Holmes' true kill count was well over 100. A sadistic murderer, Holmes brought an old mixed-use building with more than 100 rooms and hired multiple architects and builders to come in and install various features. Some rooms were fitted with trapdoors, others had fake walls, and one room was decked out with fixtures that released toxic gas. All of the doors were rigged up to an alarm system, letting Holmes track his victims' movements and stalk them around his murder castle. Down in the basement, police discovered blood-drenched tables, implements of torture, bottles of acid, and more grisly souvenirs of Holmes' horrific killings. He was eventually arrested and executed for his crimes. famously claiming he was born with the devil inside him. Holmes' story has been explored in various shows and documentaries over the years, and a film called Devil in the White City is scheduled for future release, starring Leonardo DiCaprio as Holmes. So this is one terrifying true tale we could definitely get to see in cinemas in the not too distant future. Number 6. Leonarda Cianquilli. From one grisly serial killer to another, Leonarda Cianquilli was an Italian woman who committed 3 gruesome murders between 1939 and 1940. In her youth, Cianquilli visited a fortune teller and was allegedly told she would have many children, but that they would all die young. The prophecy seemed to come true, with Cianquilli becoming pregnant 17 times, suffering 3 miscarriages and seeing 10 of her children die in their early years. 4 of them survived, and Cianquilli became obsessive about keeping them safe. So when World War II broke out and her eldest son signed up with the army, she decided the only way to protect him was through human sacrifice. Acting as a fortune teller, Cianquilli slaughtered 3 women, poisoning them with wine and finishing them off with an axe. From there, her crimes took on an even darker turn as she made soap from her victims' bodies and used their blood as an ingredient in tea cakes, which she later shared among her guests and family. Any film of Cianquilli's life would be a difficult one to watch, but there can be no denying she will go down in history as one of the most obscure and psychologically disturbing murderers of them all. An Italian movie of her life was made, but we'd love to see a big budget English language exploration of this very scary serial killer. Number 5. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia is a little town in Pennsylvania with a fascinating history. An old coal mining settlement, the town is almost entirely abandoned these days due to an underground fire that has been burning away for over 60 years. Investigators and experts have never conclusively agreed on the cause of the fire, but it is believed to have been started during the town cleanup efforts when some rubbish from a nearby landfill was set alight. The fire is believed to have come into contact with coal and spread out among the web of tunnels beneath the town. Attempts to extinguish the blaze were repeatedly unsuccessful and the town was condemned and mostly abandoned, with many buildings being destroyed over time. A few old-timers have chosen to live out their days in Centralia, but it's mostly a ghost town now and has to be one of the creepiest places on the planet. Any visitors to the area will see little more than broken roads spotted with smoke trails and old lifeless buildings left to rot. Nobody was ever killed in the fire, but the setting of Centralia inspired the movie version of the Silent Hill video game franchise and could be the perfect backdrop to a host of scary tales. Number 4. Carroll A. Deering. The Carroll A. Deering was a schooner discovered completely abandoned after running aground on the coast of North Carolina in 1921. The ship has often been associated with the legend of the Bermuda Triangle, and the fate of her crew has been the subject of various theories. The ship set sail from Virginia and arrived in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, a couple of weeks later. The original captain of the voyage had to be replaced at the last minute by 66-year-old W.B. Warmell. In Rio, Warmell was heard criticising his crew, and the first mate, Charles McClellan, was also said to have made threats about the captain. The ship set back off for America, but the crew would never be seen again. The ship was discovered totally empty, with the lifeboats and crew's belongings all gone. Piracy and mutiny have been put forth as possible causes of the crew's decision to flee, but some have suggested that a paranormal explanation could be behind the whole thing. There's a distinct lack of horror movies set aboard boats, which is rather surprising given the mysterious nature of the ocean, and the fact that boats offer no real way to flee from killers or supernatural forces. And the Deering story is one of many great ghost ship tales that could merit a film adaptation. Number 3. Hinterkaifeck. Ever feel like you're not alone? We've all heard a funny noise late at night and experienced a moment of dread at the thought that someone might be hiding away in our homes, but it usually turns out to be nothing. In the Hinterkaifeck case, however, there really was someone hidden away on one family's property. On the 31st of March 1922, all of the inhabitants of the Gruber family farm were brutally murdered with a mattock. The culprit was never found, and the crime has long been considered a major mystery, with no clear motive behind the killings. A few days before the murders, the owner of the farm, Andreas Gruber, mentioned to neighbours that he'd seen footprints leading to his home from the nearby forest. He also claimed to have heard strange noises in the attic. Additionally, months before the killings, the family's maid quit her job, claiming the farm was haunted. It's all very mysterious, and the fact that a large sum of money wasn't taken from the home dispelled the theory that the killings were the work of a thief. A couple of German films have been made on the case, but English language cinema hasn't yet investigated it. Number 2. OURANG Medan. Here's another ghost ship, and it's perhaps the creepiest of them all. Historical references to the OURANG Medan are a little sketchy, with dates and locations varying from one report to the next. But hundreds of accounts of the ship can be found in old newspapers, and they all tend to follow the same basic story. The vessel's crew all allegedly died in mysterious circumstances, with some reports stating they had been scared to death. The story goes that a couple of American vessels received SOS messages from one of the last surviving crew members, informing them that everyone on board had died. One of the American ships was able to locate the OURANG MEDAN and investigate, discovering nothing but corpses with no visible injuries. A fire later broke out on board and the search parties had to evacuate and watch as an explosion caused the ship to sink. Rumours stated that the corpses all had terrified expressions on their faces and some of them were pointing inexplicably towards something, providing the perfect grounds for some spooky supernatural theories. We'll surely never know exactly what happened to the OURANG MEDAN, but it's undoubtedly a prime piece of source material for a terrifying horror movie. Number 1. TATSUKO HORIKAWA. There have been countless home invasion stories and movies over the years, often involving thieves or murderers, but they often happen in the space of just a few hours or a single night. In this shocking but true story, a woman lived inside a man's house for almost an entire year before finally being discovered. The owner of the home, an anonymous Japanese man, lived alone but had become suspicious when he noticed food going missing from his kitchen. He assumed that a burglar had been repeatedly breaking in and decided to set up spy cameras to catch the thief in action. One day, while the man was out, he was checking the spy cam footage and was shocked to see a woman he'd never seen before walking around his home and eating his food. Police raided the house and discovered the woman, 58-year-old Tatsuko Horikawa, living in a small closet. She admitted she'd lived there for nearly a year after sneaking in when the owner forgot to lock his door one day. Horikawa had no murderous intentions towards the home owner, but the thought of someone living in your own home, hidden away for all that time, is awfully creepy and could be transformed into a really chilling cinematic tale. And that's our list. What terrifying true tale do you think would work perfectly as a horror movie? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and swing on by our channel again if you want to catch more creepy content. I've been Tilly and this has been What Culture. Thanks for watching and look after yourselves. Until next time.